What's up, everybody, and welcome to a new season of Life Force Radio. As you guys know, I recently renamed what was the Social Alchemy Human Design podcast into Life Force Radio, and that's because Life Force Radio is infinitely more resonant, juicy, and alive with exactly what I want to be transmitting to you guys right now. I want to be getting straight to the point on the insights and the opportunities that really lie within each of us when we focus and devote ourselves to cultivating more life force. Along this way, I'm going to be talking to people, previous clients, other tall humans about what it is that makes up their unique life force, what it is that makes them tick, how they navigate difficult seasons, and so much more. This episode, though, is a little bit different than previous episodes, and I'm going to get hyper specific on the subject that I'm addressing here and the reason why it's so important. I'm going to pour out as much as I possibly can into this episode so that it's rich and meaningful and hopefully profoundly changing for you. I'm not going to leave anything out, but if you want to go deeper and make this information more specific to your life and circumstance, then the Life Force method is the place to be. But you're going to learn more about that a little bit later. But for now, I want to talk to you about why you feel stuck even though everything looks fine on the surface. You might have the great job, you might have a partner, you might have a nice house, but something is off. And that's that feeling of lukewarmness. It's not awful, it's not toxic, but it's not incredible, euphoric, and everything you've ever wanted. There's some screws loose or something that's off. And this episode is for you. It's for the person who's lukewarm across multiple areas of their life, and you're not quite miserable, but you're not fully alive either. Hello, this is my sweet spot. I have been here. I have been here so many times, and this is what all of my clients come to me on, is to work on this lukewarmness in their life and turn it into something that's red hot. Here are a handful of identifiers to know if you're stuck even though everything looks fine on the surface, or if you're tolerating a lukewarm situation. The first thing is that you have a lack of clarity on what needs to shift, even though you know that something could be it, but you're not quite sure what the nail on the head would be. You also might be someone who's waiting for the right moment in air quotes, instead of taking aligned action. This looks like spiritual bypassing in a really sexy costume. It's almost hard to detect what that right moment is because it sounds so nice, like you're waiting for a sign or you're waiting for that opportunity or waiting for it to just come through. But really what that is a sign that you need to take aligned action. Another symptom of this can be that you're second guessing, spiraling, or outsourcing your intuition. Those are huge, tiny red flags. And I know that doesn't always make sense to say huge and tiny, but once you realize just how frequently you're second guessing, and even in the smallest environments, like for example, when you are looking at a menu at a restaurant and you're with a couple other people and you know exactly what you want, and you know you want that main and you know you want that side dish, but everybody else wants to split and they don't want what you want, and you second guess, outsource what you want, and you get what everybody else wants. That's just a small way that is a symptom that this could be showing up in other areas of your life too. And if that's you, this episode's going to be incredible for you. And finally, another way that we know you're stuck, even though everything looks fine on the surface, is that you're not showing up as your full, authentic self in a handful of areas in your life. And you probably know, as I say that, what areas of your life that are hard for you to show up authentically in. And maybe you think that that's okay because it's work, or maybe you think that that's okay because you're working on it, or you're working to find those aligned friendships. But we're going to talk about how to really break this down and take aligned action from here. And in order to do that, I want to tell you a client story. So my client, Lauren, she was all of these things before the Life Force method. She started her journey with me about a year ago in November of 2024. And she was really widely praised and loved at her job. She was at a really well-known company. She had worked her way up the ladder. She had a great position. She had a great salary. She was climbing the ranks. She got some promotions. But the clients that she was working on, while they were aligned with the version of her who came into that job, they started to become less aligned as time goes on. And this included, some client relationships, but also more importantly to her, it was the leaders at this company that were just kind of dropping the ball repeatedly and kind of taking away some of the perks that she had as an employee. And The values that were being displayed at this company were proving to not be in alignment with her at all. And with every boundary that was crossed and every value that was broken, it became clear to her that she just wasn't happy at this job. And even though there were some things that she liked, it definitely wasn't everything that she wanted or needed. And she wasn't even fully using her capacity, her brilliance, her intelligence to really work in a fulfilling way, the way that she needed. Now, here's the kicker. It was possible that her job was going to kind of die on the vine, so to speak, wherein they were kind of pulling away some perks, which is sometimes a symptom that the company isn't doing so well. So she could have waited until they made a decision for her, like, hey, you're getting let go of, and here's your package. But she decided that she wanted to make the most empowered choice that she could, and that was that she wanted to be in control of how she left. So when we started doing the Life Force method, it became crystal clear to her that the little whisper inside of her was telling her to cliff jump. And cliff jumping is an integral part of the Life Force method. It's saying, I know that everything in me is telling me to do this thing and I have to do it, even if it's crazy, or even if my parents don't approve, or even if my other coworkers aren't doing the same thing. It's because you know from within that something is pulling you forward, and that's the cliff jump. And this cliff jump was telling her to put in her 2 weeks notice and to start her own business. She ended up doing just that and found a journal entry later saying to the date how long she wanted to be at this job before going out onto her own. Now, it's funny because her present day self had completely forgotten that she had once wrote this down and said, okay, I'm only going to be here for like a year and a half, 2 years. But as soon as she was approaching that date, it was as though there was a subconscious signal in her that the time was up and that time was now. And at the crux of what she knew at that time was that she was meant to be a leader. She was meant to be recognized for all that she brought to the table, not just the tasks that she was accomplishing for her clients and employer, but everything that she was and did. She knew that she was meant for more. And it wasn't until like 6 months or so into our container that all of the work had really accumulated, and all of the little whispers and tools in the tool belt really became to come together and create a really well-rounded full package. Now, when we started the Life Force method, she was really happily living in the town that she was living in, but there was another city that was calling to her, and that was Austin. As you guys know, the Denver to Austin pipeline is very real. But yeah, she was starting to get a little whisper that maybe Austin was the place that she wanted to move to. Her mom had recently moved there. She had checked it out, had started building a little bit of community there and spending some holidays there. And it was just feeling really good. Now, if she had stayed at that job, she probably wouldn't have been able to contemplate or have the space to contemplate moving to Austin, Texas for a very long time. But because she quit the job, went out on a limb, she was really able to start thinking, okay, what else do I really want now that I'm in this new state of mind? Now, as soon as she stepped out there, she ended up meeting her aligned life partner. This is a really key moment because she was starting to feel herself again, starting to feel magnetic, radiant, creative, fulfilled, and not like this job was just completely draining her life force. Fast forward, we're a year later since we started our work together. She's fully living in Austin, Texas with the love of her life. She's started her own business, and she's just an incredible human being and an incredible transformation. And it's really special just to reflect on the growth that can happen from a few aligned cliff jumps and how that can just transform your energy from being lukewarm to completely lit up. She has a handful of aligned clients. She has a bridge job that's supporting her in her big life transition into this new city, and all is well. And I'm not saying that this is, of course, the end of her struggles or her challenges, but this was a huge powerhouse move for her to say, I'm not going to be lukewarm at a job that's only ticking some of the boxes. And I'm not going to be lukewarm in my city now that I'm not at the lukewarm job. And now I can have the partner that I've always wanted. If you've been listening to this episode and thinking, oh my God, it feels like she's talking right at me, then let me be very clear about what this means. It means that you already know that something's got to change in your life. And the Life Force method could be the key to your transformation. The Life Force method is my unique container. I'm so passionate about the work that we do inside of it because it's not therapy, it's not hand-holding, and it's not exactly coaching. It's my unique methodology where we learn how to harness your unique life force energy in order to be, create, and pursue everything you know you're meant to. Inside the life force method, I help you understand your life force, what you're here to do. Then we take stock of everywhere that you're not in alignment with what you're here to do. Then we cliff jump and take action. This is the best part. Then we build an internal relationship with yourself, with your life force that is so strong that you can start to see it tangibly reflected in your external life. We do this by working with 4 forms of natural intelligence that every single person has. The first is your physical body, the sensations that your body produces when you're interested in something or when you're not interested in something. The second form of intelligence that we work with is your spiritual self. This looks like your intuition, your little whispers, and your inner practices that keep you clear and connected. The third is your practical life, your real, everyday, mundane to-do lists and things that you have to do as a human, as a friend, as a lover, as a child. And fourth, we work with your true design, your energetic blueprint, your superpowers, and your soul purpose. Combining these 4 forms of intelligence creates such a connected sense of self to your life force that the path forward becomes crystalline clear. These aren't ideas. These are living, breathing, alive energies inside of you that you can learn to live alongside. This is not a methodology for consumers. This is not another certification. This is a highly transformational one-on-one container for people who are ready to take responsibility for their lives. And it's not about performing your growth or pushing it off. It's about actually changing. It's about doing the damn thing inside of the Life Force method. You don't need any more information. You need clarity. You need alignment. You need to build an intimate relationship with your life force. The Life Force method is a 12-session journey for people who are done being lukewarm with their lives and are instead ready to be lit up. If you're curious to learn more about the Life Force method, you'll find everything in the link below. Starting in January, the doors for Life Force method will open up, and I will begin accepting people into this one-on-one container. And if you're not ready, that's totally fine. Just keep listening. In every single podcast episode I share, I'm going to pour out as much information, heart, and soul on how to cultivate this information within yourself so you can have all of that for free. And if you're ready to go deeper and apply it personally to your life, that's where the Life Force method comes in. But if this is clicking for you, keep listening. Pretty incredible of what can happen when you move from just being stuck in some areas of your life that really look okay to being someone who takes life by the reins and makes a big change. I want to give you guys another example of what it can look like to wait for the right moment instead of taking aligned action. I recently sat down with a client named Hannah who is just gifted across many categories. She's passionate, she's pure-hearted, she's deeply connected to her loved ones, she cares about others so deeply, her tribe, her people, her coworkers, and she's a fierce supporter of them. She's also spent the last 1.5 years waiting for the perfect time to offer her new certification in a yoga modality to her community. She had a really incredible offering at the beginning of the year where she put herself out there, she led the yoga class, it was really well received, and all of 2025, she's kind of been waiting for the sign from the universe to step out and offer this yoga class again. What I told her is that she was stuck in a cycle of spiritually bypassing what it is that she wanted to do and what she was already qualified to do by simply waiting for a sign from the universe. What I let her know was the sign already happened. The sign was that you did it and people loved it and how you felt after doing it. That is the sign. I took her through one of the very first sessions of the Life Force method, which is the creation of your authentic compass. And in that creation of the authentic compass, we use a series of questions to help figure out what your north, south, east, and west are. What are the most important values and attributes that you want to be centering your life around? What do you really want to call in, cultivate? And what are you going to use to filter in opportunities and say, oh, that's actually not in alignment with my authentic compass, or that is, and that's why I'm going to do it. So once we established what was actually true for her right now and what she actually wanted to make happen, we could see that she wanted to feel more empowered, more in control of her life, and she wanted to step into a confident, fire-starting version of herself while still supporting her community, while still supporting her self-care and her time for spaciousness and groundedness, but she wanted to step into the fire-starting self. Using this very personalized method of the authentic compass, which is the first section of the Life Force method, she was able to walk away from a 90-minute session ready to get that yoga class on the schedule, to start offering her genius and not being attached to where it goes, but simply doing it because it's something that she always wanted to do, and that a past version of her set herself up for that certification. She did it, she accomplished it, and now wants to continue moving down that path. Now, that section is often where our lukewarm self can chime in and say, well, you already got the certification, well, you already got the job. Why don't you just not push it? Why don't you just maintain and keep everything as it is? That's an indicator that you're slipping into that lukewarm, stuck self. Even though it's fine, you know you're meant for more. And despite how much time had passed, that little whisper was still inside of her saying, I know it's been a year, but just teach another class. I know it's been a year, but just teach another class. Offer it, put it on the schedule. These are just two powerful examples of what happens when you feel stuck, even though everything looks good on the surface, but then you start to alchemize that. And you do that by listening deeply, naming in the most simplest terms what your desire is, and then taking a small action step towards it. Don't complicate it. Just be pure, be intentional with it. And really, my mantra right now, I'll just share it with you guys, is when in doubt, be lighthearted. And I know that everything I'm sharing with you can feel dense and it can feel like a lot. And how am I actually going to do that? And how am I actually going to quit? And how am I actually going to offer this to my community? How is it really going to look or feel? And I want you to set that aside for a later date, maybe a few days from now or a week right from now. And instead, just acknowledge the truth, which is that, for example, just dropping in with myself. It's important that we drop in with ourselves when we answer our own little whispers, that you might desire to leave your job. And without having to rush to figure out exactly how, explore that a little bit deeper. Name what maybe you haven't named or have been afraid of. And as you're doing that, it's as though the body or the creator or the universe begins to say, oh, they get it. They're listening, and they give you energy and clarity. And clarity is where we take our aligned actions from. It's the opposite of second guessing, spiraling, or outsourcing your intuition. You're going into the well, your own inner well where your inner genius lives. And there's a lot of juice and nectar and marrow in there. If you're wanting to look into this any further, I recommend that you check out an episode previous to this, the Becoming the Lighthouse workshop. It's totally free. It's just an episode on Spotify, but it comes with a video. And in that, you can take a look at your environment, job, partnership, relationship with yourself and your community and see in what categories you're lit up and in what categories you're lukewarm or even borderline toxic. And that workshop is designed to help you take one or two small baby steps forward into deeper alignment. Okay, so that's free below in this Life Force Radio podcast. And if you want to look into the authentic compass, you can absolutely check that out. I will leave a link down below for you to look into that. Everything else that you need to know about the Life Force method is all down below as well. I hope that you guys are having a beautiful day and that this podcast episode was helpful for those of you that feel stuck and are wanting to just make more moves in your life. There's nothing that I'm more passionate about than this, so let me know how this lands with you. Give me a follow at Social Alchemy Institute on Instagram. Send me a DM with how this landed with you and what it maybe inspired you to do. And just so you know, my DMs are always open to hear your little whispers. If you just need someone to share it with, to tell it to be anchored in with, let that be me. I would love to hear them. Just last night, I was at a Christmas party and a girlfriend of mine had told me in August that she had a little whisper that she wanted to work on. And last night she showed me her website for her upcoming floral design business. And that little whisper is now a website being made into offers and soon to be in 2026, a side hustle that is going to be generating more income for her. And that's what it's all about. It's not all or nothing, but it's really both and that both and can come from within and externally. And that's really the magic sauce here. And that's what I wish everyone would understand more when they listen to this. I got a lot more episodes coming up for you guys here soon, including how to know when it's time to take the leap from your job. We're going to be focusing more on career in the next episode. For those of you who are sitting on the edge of a major life transition, whether you're at a fork in the road or the road's not even clear and you're just waiting for a sign, that episode will be for you, okay? And like I said, I have been there. I have been in your shoes. I understand these career life transition moments more than anybody else. And that's why I'm so passionate about just taking the wool off of your eyes, listening deeply, and helping you figure out what it is that you are here to do on this planet.